There was a new 32 Thoughts this week where Elliotte Friedman basically was like, here, I'm dropping this. Now leave me alone for a week. The season's starting soon, which I really appreciate. Shout out Elliotte. But there's a couple Flyers related notes in there I wanted to get to. The first one is he says he didn't get to ask Bill Daly about the Ryan Johansen situation, but it does seem as if he at least has some background information.
Maybe he got to ask Bill Daly, but not on the record.
Yeah, he got to ask somebody at some point. Yeah. First thing I wanted to ask Charlie is, now maybe this is a paper move that doesn't get the big press release the way the initial we're putting him on waivers to terminate his contract does, but from all accounts, it doesn't seem as if the Flyers have actually executed the contract termination part of this thing after the waivers.
They've certainly not announced it, which tells me they haven't done it yet.
Maybe there's other hurdles that need to be. Maybe there
really are.
We got to cross T's, dot I's.
Yeah, there really are. They could do it. They now could do it whenever they want.
In all likelihood, do you think this is we're pre-negotiating a settlement?
Yes. I think that there is negotiating being done, because my interpretation of the CBA, and I don't see any way I'm wrong on this, is you can't file a grievance on something that hasn't happened yet. So it's not as if the NHLPA can file a grievance until the Flyers actually material breach terminate the contract. And as far as we know, they have not done that yet, because they have not announced that they've terminated the contract and they haven't put through the final paperwork yet. So this tells me that there is some sort of backroom negotiation going on between, the Flyers and the NHL and the NHLPA, and then, Johansson and Kurt Overhart and everybody. And it's how can we, because the key point that Friedman noted in his 32 Thoughts was that, and he's right, this is the point that I made last week when we broke it down, is that generally speaking, neither side wants this stuff to get to an arbitrator.
If you set a precedent, that's now the rule.
That is now the precedent. And neither side wants to take the risk of there being a precedent one way or the other. The NHL doesn't want to take the risk of teams not having the ability to do material breaches. And the NHLPA doesn't want to set the precedent of teams being able to do material breaches whenever the hell they want.
You can just no buyout, nothing, drop a dude. It seriously changes the whole guaranteed nature of the contract.
Exactly.
If it's yeah, man, getting hurt is a material breach. Oh, yeah? Is it?
Yeah. So it's in their best interest, both sides' best interest, to come to some sort of settlement. I would assume what is going on now is the two sides are talking to see if there is any way that they can resolve this without the Flyers having to resort to actually terminating the deal and citing the material breach. Who the hell knows? Truly the funniest resolution to this by far would be Johansson shows up to camp and is healthy. That would be utterly hilarious.
Makes the team
so funny.
Scores 40 points this year.
Truly, the funniest outcome is Johansson shows up and says, yeah, I went to another doctor and decided I could play through it.
I'm getting another injection. I'll play through it.
I don't think that is going to happen. But that would be by far the funniest outcome.
How willing are you to make $8 million? What are you willing to do for $8 million?
Yeah.
It's very funny. I will say it's the timing, and Friedman noted this in the column, there might actually be a part of, if this were to say, go to arbitration and both sides have, evidence exhibited, the Flyers really might have a fucking Snapchat video or whatever the kids use now of Johansson dancing at his wedding and be how hurt are you?
Yeah, lifting up his wife while
how
dancing.
Hurt are you?
Yeah, with the debilitating hip injury.
Yes.
No, and that's something I appreciate that Elliotte was the one who actually put it in a column, because
we've all
been thinking.
Yeah.
We've all been thinking that yes, the timing is weird. Why would you do it now? He just got married the weekend before, and there are pictures of him he ain't walking around the dance floor on crutches. He's moving around pretty good. We saw the videos. They were out. They were posted. Now, do I think that, and we talked about this, me and you talked about this a little bit before the show, Is it possible that the Flyers weren't going to do this, saw the videos, and then out of a fit of rage decided, fuck it, we're material breaching this contract? I guess it's possible. It doesn't seem likely.
I think it's just like,
that would be something that Bob Clark
we're
would have
looking
done.
for evidence, and here's some.
Yeah. That to me strikes me as a little bit more that the Flyers always had this in their back pocket. Because the other point that Friedman made, and I reported this as well last week on the show, was that the Flyers would not have put him on the conditional waivers with the intention of a mutual of a material termination of the contract if the NHL wasn't willing to have their back. And Friedman says the Flyers wouldn't have done this if they wouldn't have gotten a nod from the NHL that they were okay with basically potentially having to go to court to support this. Because ultimately, if this goes to an arbitrator, it would be the NHL versus the NHLPA. The Flyers would not have done this if they didn't know the NHL wouldn't have their backs if it went to court. So the NHL gave, whether it was explicit or tacit approval, they gave approval. Perhaps the Flyers have been trying to do this for a while, and they have been presenting their evidence to the NHL, and the NHL had been saying, yeah, this isn't enough. We're not going to let you, this isn't enough for a material breach. We're not going to let you do it. You just got to deal with it. And then maybe the Flyers sent those videos to the NHL and were like, come on. You're going to tell me that he's injured. And then the NHL was like, all right, fine. This is enough evidence. We'll back you. And then they did it. That strikes me as more plausible than the Flyers threw a temper tantrum because they saw him dancing at his wedding.
And before we wrap up today, we very much want to thank all of our diehards out there. Couldn't do what we do here at PHLY. And listen, diehards, all you got to do to be in the running to win some of those tickets to the Flyers Rookie Series game, DM me in the Discord. Thank you to our diehards. Yeah, the way I looked at this was like the timing of scheduling the surgery, post-wedding, post-honeymoon, all that. That displays you never had any intention, because you get this hip surgery if this is a severe hockey injury, the way the KO Sports press release read.
Right.
He has a severe hockey injury. Is all right, well then get the surgery, rehab it, and then join us when you're healthy.
Right.
And if he ever had any intention of joining the team on time, he would have got the surgery,
in May, in April.
When he joined the team at the deadline and said, I can't play.
Yeah.
You could have got it any time between now and then and now. You're doing it now so that you don't have to report. Like, maybe that's a little conjecture, but like, it's the only way I can look at it is like, if we're going to use the timing as evidence, is that's what they're thinking. And yeah, you see him lifting his wife or something and going, well, how hurt are you? Like, and there's probably a big difference between lifting her and playing in the NHL.
Oh, of course there is. but it is the principle.
Would you risk further injury? Like,
right.
And if it's not something you can hurt further, then why can't you play?
I've made the case on the show that while I do suspect the Flyers have some evidence that is, more than this, I do think a lot of their case really just boils down to, come on.
We all see what you're doing.
It boils down to common sense. And when you see the wedding pictures and the wedding videos, it just adds more to the common sense of this guy could probably play hockey if he really wanted to.
It seems as if the Flyers' whole argument is, we don't have a smoking gun, but if you just look at everything, come on.
Yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.